Hello once again, everyone, and welcome to the Loadout, presented by The Daily Dot. That's capital T, capital D, capital D, as you can see in front of your screen. I am your loyal host, Jared Wynn, bringing you one more night of esports news, discussion, debate, and diatribes. Joining me tonight, as they sometimes do, are Sam Halo Champion Lingle and Jacob the Wolf. Sam, how are you?
I'm doing well, Jared.
I'm so glad to hear that. Yeah, we had some actual deathmatch action with money on the line this weekend. That's exciting for you and I know.
It was awesome.
Jacob, doing
quite well.
Yes, yeah. Good.
Busy.
Hope so. You should be busy. Keep on it. In fact, what are you doing right now? Keep working. I'll let you know when I need you again. Let's start with EG winning something. Always a treat for some people.
For Ian, especially.
Yes, always a treat for Ian Barker, Ian Double John Barker, who is departed for the time being. They won a big Halo event. Not a big surprise when EG wins in Halo these days. They have the best Halo team in the world by far. They have some dominance, kind of like the Optic crew has dominance in the other FPS on the console that has some money in play, Call of Duty. EG has the dominance in Halo. Sam, tell me a bit about the team, their win here, and explain their place in the Halo hierarchy as it exists.
I mean, they defended their Halo Championship Series title, so they won Season 2. I guess there's going to be another season announced sometime soon, probably to close out the year. But I think that's 5 tournaments in a row that they've won, major tournaments, and they've won everyone except for one this year, basically. So I mean, they're a dominant team. One of the most dominant teams in Halo history, and Halo's seen some pretty great teams, way back in the day, 10 years ago. But I mean, the team is basically around Lunchbox and Roy, the two brothers, the Brown brothers. They're superstar players. Roy has won multiple MLG MVPs, and I mean, it's impressive how they're able to continue doing it. Now years and years later. I mean, in 2007, I attended MLG Charlotte, which was their debut tournament with members of 5K. When everyone was calling these guys, they're like online players who won't do it on LAN. They ended up getting 4th and surprising everybody. So, they've kept doing it for years, and on instinct, during the previous Halo eras, they were one of the top teams, the best team when they were teamed with Pistola and Ogre 2, and it's impressive what they're able to do. They suffered a little setback earlier in the first season when Pistola, I got your Pistola, who was another legendary Halo player,
right,
was on the team, and he injured himself, so they had to bring in Lethal as a sub, but they worked it out pretty quickly with Lethal, and they've been winning ever since. Pistola got over his injury, but they decided to keep Lethal, and it's obviously been a great decision for them.
Looks like every decision they made has been a pretty good decision. If they're the dominant team in Halo, I mean, what more could you ask for than to be the dominant team in Halo? I couldn't ask for anything more myself.
I mean, it was a $150,000 tournament. Like, the prizes in Halo right now are extremely
They're
large.
Actually bigger than the other console FPS prizes, I believe.
And they're bigger than the big CS tournament this weekend.
They are this weekend, not the... Perhaps if you combine this weekend and the next weekend and the next weekend, then the combination of the CS tournaments kind of overshadows the one big Halo season. But still, this weekend, a weekend for Halo. Well done, Halo, and your players and teams and so on. Anyway,
it's a little disappointing it's not getting more viewership because it has this great history and a lot of these rivalries and great star players. But
it does.
It's kind of creeping up a little bit, I think, but it's not getting that much attention even compared to like Call of Duty. So
it just goes to show you need the grassroots competitive scene before you really have the top.
Well, it is interesting because right now it's the anniversary edition they're playing, which is Halo 2 Remake, and they have the Master Chief Collection. Halo 5 hasn't come out yet, so maybe when an actual big ticket, big title comes out, it'll receive a huge jump in popularity. We'll see.
It has often seemed like there's only room in town for one really popular console FPS to kind of dominate the space.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily the case. We'll find out, I guess, when Halo 5 comes out, because Call of Duty is always active. There's always a new Call of Duty game. That's just how it is. Another big tournament this weekend, QuakeCon. Unfortunately, not as big as it used to be. It's very sad.
Nearly as big.
Yeah, very sad for me personally. I remember the days of 0-4 winning it and being a big fucking deal. Now, does anyone really know that Rafa won the dual tournament? It wasn't even the full tournament. It was kind of a weird format as well, the trifecta events for that Meltdown one.
Yeah.
All credit to them. I was more interested personally in the dual tournament because we don't get much straight up DM these days in esports. It just doesn't happen a lot. The days of UT and Quake being the big games, or at least some of the big games, are bygone, unfortunately. Unfortunately, in my opinion. But Rafa, it was fun to watch him play and defeat Evo in the final. I watched the final when he won over Evo multiple times, actually. Other great players like Cypher and Cooler. Was Cypher there, actually? I think he was.
Cypher was there, but he did not perform very well.
He lost to Dehang, I saw, yeah. Of course, Dehang, one of the later era great players in Quake Live, Quake 3.
Perennial runner-up. He didn't get runner-up this time, but he still didn't win, even though he managed to beat Cypher, who beat him in the final last year. So
he beat Cooler as well, I think.
Yeah, it was a great showing by him, but obviously not enough. That's been the story of his career, though, as a Quake player. So
it's fun to see Cooler still in the mix, by the way. Just an old school. He was in his dominant player in his prime years and 10 years ago, probably more than 10 years ago, actually. I think he was playing at ESWC events when they first had Quake in the mix. So Rafa winning it all here, nice moment for him. It speaks, I think, to the competitive state of Quake, though, that none of these players really have reason to practice up and keep their skills sharp. They just kind of play for the one big event a year, because what else are they going to play for?
Well, this also wasn't even that big of an event, right? It was a 32K prize pool, and it was split basically 4 ways, where they had 8K top prize for the 3 TDM, CTF, and the dual tournament, and then 8K for the total tournament winner, which went to Meltdown, who won the TDM and CTF, the team with Toxic, who is the most legendary Quake 4 player of all time and famed for his amazing aim. But so Raph ended up winning an 8K tournament, and 8K is kind of peanuts, especially these days in esports, and even compared to past Quake prizes, it's peanuts. I mean, in 1999, Quake had over 100K in prize money awarded for the year, and it had that for a 10-year stretch only until the past couple of years. So this is the smallest prize ever, and a lot of these guys really didn't practice much for this event. They kind of rode in on their previous skill. I mean, they played some, obviously, and they also had other things to practice for, like a TDM and CTF. So it was a little disappointing, but I mean, Rafa was still in top form. His games against Evil were played extremely well, and you got to see what really makes him a superstar player. This was his 4th QuakeCon win, which ties Cypher for all time, at least if you count this tournament, which maybe you don't count as a headline tournament, but I mean, it's still QuakeCon, and it still had everyone there competing in it. So I was very impressive by Rafa to win.
I counted. I mean, if you're going to get into the nitty gritty, you can really just say what year does no longer count, because there was a day when Quake was really a popular esport overall, and the days of Cooler and 04, perhaps their wins were more hard fought than the wins of a later player like
you
a
could
Cypher.
say that, but I mean, I don't think anyone would argue that Rafa and Cypher are the 2 greatest duelers of all time, and if they played in their prime against those players in their prime, I think you'd have to give Cypher probably the crown, maybe. I mean, this tournament, you could say, throws a little wrench into it, because Rafa placed ahead of him and Cypher didn't play that well, but I think Cypher still has most of the tools to make him, the greatest player ever. But it's still a debate, a little bit of a debate.
Which we enjoy in esports. We do. Between the new school players and the old school players, and the intermingling of them.
The cool thing is that so many of them still play. Like 04 was maybe not at this one, but he was at previous QuakeCons recently, and obviously Cooler is still at all these tournaments. And there is great competition, even if it's a 1-year event, and the game's not doing that well or doing anything at all. There's still all these great players who really are that good, and it's really fun to watch them play. So
that's the thing about DM, is kind of like riding a bike. You know how to play DM. As long as you know the map, you can play. You can come in and play and do quite well.
Maps are still basically the same.
Maybe the new UT will give us some breath of
Doom 4. I mean, that was the big news at QuakeCon still, right? Us talking about Doom 4. So
I've heard mixed things. I hope it works out. I've heard very mixed things. We'll see. We'll find out. I don't know. Jacob, I heard through the grapevine that you yourself actually established, that Zero was to join Team Solo Mid. Big news for the Smash community. Zero, of course, is the dominant player in Smash 4, or Smash Wii U as you prefer. No one can come close to him in that regard. He is winning literally everything without exception. That's just what he does. He shows up and wins. There's a talk of a bounty to be placed on his head. Yep. In game, of course. Not out of game. Keep it respectful here in the Smash community. Joining Team Solo Mid, a big move for him. Do you see more of these moves coming for the Smash community, getting involved with the big organizations like this?
Yeah, I do. The Smash 4 is slowly getting bigger and bigger, and it's getting more recognition across tournaments like CEO and Evo. It did quite well at both this year. I personally know that there are a lot of deals that are in progress right now that hopefully I'll get to report in the future. This one was something that has been in the mix. He's talked to organizations like Coast. I'm fairly certain he had a conversation with Optic. He's talked to a lot of organizations previously about signing on, but it looks to be that he has settled on TSM, and they are going to finalize the deal in the next few weeks. So. Um, I do think there will be a lot more of these kind of deals coming in as there's a consistent top that is finally kind of showing up. Like you have Esam from Panda Gaming, who's nearly always top 8. You have Nairo, who's unsponsored at the moment. You have Zero. You have a lot of these players that are like consistently in your top 8 at your big tournaments, and I think deals are going to start coming for these guys. So
Well, I would expect it, and I know it must be a good deal for Zero because he spoke at length about how he was not just going to take any offer that was brought to him. It had to be an offer that fit for him and offer respected his talents. So he was pretty clearly making his statement that he was going to take a good offer, not just any offer. And I think TSM probably has the capacity to give him a good offer. That's my feeling, my intuition.
most definitely.
Yeah. Let's move on now to our team by the name of RoccatFlyy. We're going to have RoccatFly's manager and coach, Fly and Yamato Cannon, in this very show, just in, about 10 minutes, actually. So let's talk about Roccat. Their week 9, was a difficult one, but ended up working out pretty well. They started with a loss to the Copenhagen Wolves of all teams, the bottom-tier team in Europe. Not a good way to start your penultimate week in the LCS, but they followed up with a win over Origin, or Orihin, if you prefer, and then a tiebreaker win over Giants. So the path here that Roccat took, Sam, can you explain it for me? Is there a way to explain it?
And that Thursday day was just kind of painful to watch. Like a lot of the teams that were in the playoff race, it seemed like none of them really wanted to actually make the playoffs. You know, a lot of these teams were struggling in their matches. And I mean, obviously the game against, I think, Copenhagen Wolves was a pretty weird one where there's only like 7 kills throughout the game. It was like kind of slow and just a couple of mistakes the teams made. But I mean, Roccat obviously managed to pull it together. I mean, they've been improving in the latter half of the season. So, you know, them beating Orion was a great win, and it shows that they probably have what it takes to do pretty well in the playoffs. I mean, especially when, other than, you know, the very top teams like Fnatic and, you know, H2K might not be doing that well. So we'll see.
We will see how they do in the playoffs. Jacob, you got a feeling for that? You got a feeling for Roccat's chances when we're about to have their manager and head coach in the room?
I think they'll do quite well in playoffs.
Convenient. You say that now.
No, I said I thought they were going to beat UOL when we talked on
okay, sure.
on Monday. And I do think they'll beat UOL. It's Fnatic, I think that they're going to have a big bump over. They do have a little bit extra time to prepare for this bracket than normal. So I'm sure Yamato is sitting down with the team and, you know, going over strategies and everything for the rest of these teams, but I think they'll best UOL. And
why do you favor them over Unicorns, by the way?
Well, Unicorn still doesn't have their starting jungler in Horo, so they're still using Gilius. I think Yonkos is better than Gilius. And honestly, the only place I see that the Unicorns are like head and shoulders above is in top lane, and that's it. And I even that I don't think Steve is like he's gotten used to playing on LAN, and he looks a little bit better, so he's not getting crushed like he was first part of the split. So
in a lot of ways, you have to think any series with the Unicorns is like a coin flip. I mean, they were like 3-2 in all their playoff series last split. They basically had like an 8-8 regular season record for both splits. So, I mean, Roccat obviously has a good chance. And I think that in this meta where like a jungler like Jankos was able to, you know, destroy Origin in that game on Friday, right? So I think that this meta favors that kind of play, and Unicorns doesn't have that weapon in the jungle. So I think that could be a pretty big factor in the upcoming series.
We'll see if it is. Do you see, Sam, Roccat prevailing?
I think I'd have to give it to them, but I think it's still a coin flip, basically. I mean, I think it's really 50-50 in terms of who will come out in this one. But I think if I had to put money on it, I'd put it on Roccat.
A coin flip is a convenient answer for any Unicorn series, I think, just because you have the Unicorns playing as they do. I would be interested in seeing the Unicorns semifinal rematch. Well, I guess the finals rematch in the semifinals against Fnatic, I should say. But Roccat, I think, does have some more consistency. Perhaps it's hard to say that after they lost to Wolves and then beat Orihin and Giants.
I mean, they clearly have things to work on, but they have improved as the season's gone on. I think NukeDuck is playing very well recently too, so that
kind of
definitely
lit up.
gives them a boost.
What remains to be improved on?
I mean, they're still making mistakes in terms of their, rotational play in the mid game and late game. Obviously, I mean, losing the game to Copenhagen Wolves like that. So, maybe their shot calling, I don't know. I'm not sure who is really handling those duties for them these days. I mean, that might be one of the reasons why NukeDuck's performing better is because he's able to take more control, but I can't really say for sure. I mean, we'll find out, I guess, in the next segment, right?
Yeah, we might. Jacob, your thoughts on who might improve a bit for the team if they can improve their chances to beat Fnatic?
I think Steve is going to kind of struggle against Huni. I think he's the weird question mark because he wasn't even in Challenger Series when he played down to that level. He played some of the EU like Challenger scene tournaments, but not the actual series with LDLC. But yeah, I think it really does come down to how well NukeDuck performs. But he's been peaking pretty high recently, and the games versus Orihen and Giants looked pretty good on Yeso. So maybe there's a chance that they come out, and I don't think they'll beat Fnatic, but I think they will at least take a game.
They're taking a game. You're going to predict a game lost by Fnatic. You do realize, Jacob, that they are 18-0 right now.
Yes, I think that's.
Were you aware of that actually?
Yes.
Had you heard?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's the one. That series or the finals are the ones that Fnatic is gonna get figured out, at least for one game.
I'd have to disagree. I mean, I think Fnatic will probably sweep that series, whoever wins this upcoming one, but it'll be interesting to see what these teams can pull out against them the week of preparation. So
We're going to find out. Well, we might find out soon. Unicorns could interrupt that plan. How dastardly of them. We will talk to Yamato Cannon, head coach of RoccatFlyy, and the team's manager, Fly, when we come back to you from a quick video break. So stay tuned with us to get the answers that we've been looking for presented to us, like on a silver platter, basically. How exciting. I'm excited. You should be excited, too. Stick around.
Now coming at you 5 days a week. Welcome to another QuickCast. Do you esport game? That's the question posed by Jake Jacobson, a parent organizer of the Esports World Finals. The failed event planner made waves recently after charging esports websites to use the word finals pending an unresolved trademark filing. You can read about Jacobson's story in full on our website. Everyone's favorite god-themed MOBA is celebrating 10 million unique players with an homage worthy of the moment. Hi-Rez Studios is releasing a retro Herc skin for Hercules, voiced by Hercules the legendary Journeys actor Kevin Sorbo. Blizzard has released only 10% of the cards in its next full expansion, but what they show promises to dramatically change the game. The Grand Tournament, set for release in August, introduces the Inspire mechanic, which triggers card effects when players activate their hero power. And finally, Major League Gaming's Call of Duty League is reeling after a series of dedicated denial of service attacks threatened the integrity of the competition. The attacks grew so severe that MLG was forced to postpone this week's matches and educate all competitors on how to avoid further harassment. MLG's Call of Duty League will resume play on Monday. For the best in esports news and analysis, subscribe to our YouTube channel and tune in every month. Your one-stop shop for the week's biggest plays. Welcome to another Loadout Top 5. At number 5, Havoc goes huge to clutch round 11 against Optic Gaming.
He rotates around. Spots. Oh, he takes him out. Oh my God.
Last gonna go and echo slam on the misery.
At number 4, Sumail shows off his Queen of Pain for the Rampage.
Gets the triple immediately thereafter. Envy rotates, but it's slow. On the other side of things, Fear and Sumail securing the ultra kill, and now
Rampage?
Envy is alone. Oh my God, it's all going awry. Cloud9, what just happened? Rampage.
It's hard to find barrels to throw them.
At number 3, Sonic Fox earns 60k and finishes off an incredible season with the X-Ray.
Oh, he missed the NJP. That was huge.
The problem with that is he's catching it with the very tip of the... Oh, and that
is going to
be it.
Sonic.
One hell of a clutch. He punches in the numbers.
Number 2-0 comes through with the big clutch in overtime against Envious.
Fight for nothing right now. Molotov going to force him back just a tiny bit. He burns down to 25, and he's going to make the run, trying to switch up his position. Shock's already diffusing. Nothing gets the shot through the door. He gets it. The ace clutch and nothing.
You are not late game yet.
And number 1 Piglet keeps Liquid in the game with the big one Baron steal.
Gary being bottom. Oh my God, he stole it! Piglet comes up with a big one steal.
For the best in esports news and analysis, subscribe to our YouTube channel and tune in every Monday through Thursday.
Welcome back. Those watching live now and those watching in the future in technological VOD form. Very impressive of you. I'm still Jared Wynn, bringing you this wonderful discussion with our 2 guests of honor. They are Yamato Cannon and Fly, coach and manager respectively of RoccatFlyy, European LCS playoff team. Just so we're clear. Guys, how are you tonight?
Gucci.
Very. I hope so. With the playoffs coming up, you should be.
I'm good.
Quite good.
Yeah, thank you for joining us, of course. How do you feel with Roccat making the playoffs? It was a nice tiebreaker win. You got in there all the way. You feeling good? You feeling positive?
Well, I could say it was a great relief.
Yeah.
Like, a fear of mine was to place the same way they did in the previous split. And I always look at the improvement, and I feel we've done a lot of improvements. So I'm very happy.
Well, you compare going to relegation to going to the playoffs. There's definitely some improvement there, I think. And who knows, if you win the whole split, I mean, that's even more improvement. You're still in it, I see great things in your future. Jacob, let's roll back a little bit and talk about some roster changes that led perhaps to this improvement.
So in spring, you guys removed Sulliver and Zazas, or pre-spring, to bring in Woolite and move Overpow to top and put Nuke Duck in the mid lane after the Ryu substitution. So what prompted that, and how did you see that going? It's more a Tommy question. But
So I guess I should go with this one because Yamato was still not part of the team back in those times. But the idea of those changes was pretty much, hey, we placed third or fourth, third respectively in spring and fourth in summer. We nearly avoided, not avoided, but we didn't manage to qualify for Worlds, which was our goal from the beginning of the summer split. We felt like we want more. We want to be better. We looked at what are the weak points in the team, what we can improve, who's striving to really win and everything. And we decided we want to keep Vander and Jankos, and then the Overpower was more of, hey, Overpower is a really talented player. At that period of time, he was on top form pretty much. He was playing really good. He had a wide champion pool, and at the same time, his TP usage was really good and everything else. So that pretty much led us to the conclusion: hey, there's a lot bigger a lot more options to get a mid laner, a really good mid laner, rather than a top laner at that time. So we decided to move over top lane and get Nuke Duck for mid lane. Then the Woolite thing was, Woolite was friend with all of them, was rookie of the spring split. Of the spring split and everything. And we wanted to bring someone fresh, someone hungry to achieve, and Woolite was that person. On paper, everything looked good, but as we saw in the spring split, didn't work out exactly how we planned it.
Hey, had Overpower a call from the top? Was that the plan all along, or is that something you came up with once the team got together?
What do you mean?
To have him shot call?
Oh, the shot calling?
Yeah,
he was shot calling in Polish while we were with the full Polish team, but my guess is he didn't feel that comfortable on top lane once moving over there. He wasn't confident with himself and everything, so his shot calling actually went downhill a little bit, at least in English, but who knows.
You did get a relegation, unfortunately, but you chose Wolves Academy, I believe, to play there. Triumphed over them. Do you remember what brought you to choose Wolves, not Reason Gaming, for example?
Well, I can touch on this one.
Sure.
Well, I knew the players of Copenhagen Wolves Academy. Like, I knew Cosq, and it was already, like, when I was in Michi Makers, I actually approached Lowland Lions and Cosq if we could acquire him, but then I was told that he was not able to go to a gaming house because he wants to finish school in a year. So, like, with that in mind, I heard from a lot of the players that knew them was like the fact that they don't want to even play LCS, and the fact that they don't scrim and they don't practice that much. So it felt like kind of the obvious choice, because the other choice was Reason Gaming, and it feels like always the teams with a roster with like only one nationality, they seem to do better in matches that matter. I just have that kind of a vibe because it just felt correct with these 2 points that I just presented to you.
Well, it worked out pretty well. You got past them pretty easily, and those are good reasons as well. Now, when you came onto the team, what was that like? What was your introduction to the team like? Tommy, what was the thought behind bringing Jacob into the team?
Like we were sure even 2-3 weeks before the split ends that we might be replacing Ducky. After the split, he expressed his motivation to leave the team, and we also didn't plan to continue with him. So we were in a search for a new coach. We looked at different options and everything, and even though Yamato didn't have the success with MOM, we realized that big part of the reasons behind MOM going to auto relegation and everything wasn't at all in his fault or anything to put on him. So we wanted to give him a try and see how it goes, and I think even from the first day or two being with him, everyone was already on the Yamato hype train, pretty much. Like we all like him. He's really good, like with people. He really convinces everyone on the right thing and the thing that he thinks of. So I think Yamato was the natural choice to go with our team. Simply because, extending on that point, is our team didn't need exactly a person to give them all the information, to give them picks and bans and everything else ready. They needed a person that needs to keep them in balance between each other, needs to keep them focused on the game and on what's right to be played and what's not. And Ducky didn't have the charisma, let's say, to put towards our players, which Yamato had a full of. So we went with him.
Talking about like coaching style there, Jacob, what is your style, your approach to coaching? Because a lot of different people in esports and in league in particular have very different approaches to how to coach these young players and get them performing well.
Well, I coach with authority. I would say like not complete authority. I'm not a dictator. Of course, I listen to the players, but I always have the final say. The principle of how I coach is based on three things. One of them. Respect. Vander, please. Go away. Okay. Sorry. So, first one is respect, as Vander said. First one is respect. Respect between the players, respect to others that we play against, and enemies across the scene. The second one is to always, that the players should always show to me that they work very hard. And the last one is, I call it selfishness, but selfishness is kind of I need to kind of explain. The point is that if people act on emotions, they are selfish. And when they put themselves ahead of the team, they're acting selfish. And players that think they are bigger than the team, they have no place in a team that I coach. So I base everything off of these three principles. And this is what I try to promote to the players.
Did the players buy into that pretty quickly? Did they understand what you were trying to tell them about?
Well, like for the first few weeks, I kind of repeated it every day. So it kind of, I think they even dream of it.
Wow,
it has become a meme in the office pretty much. In a fun way, but actually in a serious way. So.
Right. Well, the respect meme sounds like a good meme to have in their office. You know, I think that's a pretty good one. Now you made a move to get rid of overpow. The shot calling moved around a little bit. What went behind that maneuver? Which put the shot calling and why?
What do you mean exactly? The move to pick up Steve?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, pretty much like I just looked at the options I had, and we tried out multiple people overpower as well, and I felt like with overpower, I felt like we reached some kind of a ceiling. Like the ceiling was fine, it was okay, but I felt like if we're going to reach for the skies and compete with the actual best, then we need to bring in some young talent and kind of take a gamble. And with that in mind, like Steve, we knew he was mechanically good. We tried him out, had some like edges to kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? I was supposed to say iron out, but that's the wrong word. But you get my point. Like he's like a diamond in the rough. And I felt like that gamble was worth trying simply because I want to compete with the best. I want to have like a long-term thing going with the team. And it felt like with overpower we reached some kind of a ceiling. And I feel like the shot calling role is something that comes natural as the team needs it. And I feel like as we progress now, it's very like it's becoming more clear who wants to take that responsibility, because I don't think you can really point out a shot caller. It has to come natural. Like leadership is natural. And with that in mind, I felt like Steve was the correct choice.
Mr. Wolf, I think there are other moves you wanted to ask about.
So who's like basically taking that role now? Like who is becoming the born leader of Roccat in team environment?
I don't think I could say that someone specifically is the leader, but everyone has like everyone is very smart about the game and they have their own opinions. And like I took a decision some weeks ago that when it kind of clashes, because it happened in the first weeks that opinions clash and they end up doing nothing on the Summoner's Rift. The person that has like the last say is Vander.
Okay, that makes sense. He's your veteran player, so. So I think it was week two or week three. You moved Woolite off and Rallis on. Something you guys, I had heard that you guys were thinking about previously during the off season. What prompted that move? And obviously, it's shown good results. So,
well, when it comes to Woolite, I think he's very talented. He has very, very obvious strengths, and I felt like I would try to fix the issues that he had at that time. And after like some of the games that I think I remember the game specifically against Unicorns of Love, it just went very horribly wrong, and the same kind of trends happened as the previous split. I felt like I needed to go for something consistent because I felt like I had enough players in the roster that could take those risks that would get you ahead in very important games. I just needed like a consistent player. And from my time in Meet Your Makers, I knew that Mr. Alice was always very solid. And that's exactly what we needed.
Tommy, do you let Jacob make the roster decisions, or do you kind of work with him together to make those decisions? How does that work out?
We have a lot of discussions about everything. Like Jacob's opinion, of course, is the main one for taking the decision and everything. But lately, especially, we've decided that the final decision is Jacob's. He goes with the lineup changes, but we first discuss with everyone on the team. We discuss me and Jacob a lot more than with the team before we make the decision. I think the Woolite thing was more like, hey, he continues. Well, it was obvious. I'm not gonna even sugarcoat it anymore. He threw a lot of games. We had a lot of games that we lost after leading a lot. The split before Yamato came, then the Unicorns game and everything. So we decided that, hey, if we manage to take those leads and we can stay with those leads with a consistent player that can have the right positioning, we should be able to have the same results and even better. And which was at the end the result as we saw with Rales and others.
Let's talk about the present now, or at least the recent past. Week 9, you come in looking for a playoff spot. You lose to Wolves in the first game. A little bit disappointing. Jacob, were you feeling kind of shaky on the team after that? Did you still have faith? How'd that loss come about to Wolves?
Well, it's something that I also teach. It's one of my principles, to take everything day by day. Like, it comes down to the third principle as I presented before. It's like mixing emotions into business is always bad. And this is in the end business. Even though it's a League of Legends, it's still business. So even though we still had decent chances to make playoffs, so there was no point to feel emotional over what happened against the Wolves. And as I said, I take everything day by day, and I feel like every day is equally important, because how far you push is like how efficiently you're going to improve in the end. And after the Wolves game, the only thing I repeated was, do not mix emotions into this. We're still in it. There's no point to be mad or sad or pissed or happy about it. We just move on forward, and we face Origin, and we do the best we can.
And you beat Origin, actually. You beat them and Giants in the tiebreaker. What powered you through there? What do you think was the main difference between losing to Wolves at the bottom of the table and then coming back and beating a top-of-the-table team in Origin and then beating Giants in the tiebreak?
It feels... Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
We wanted to do it the hard way, you know? We wanted to make it interesting till the very end. No, but one comparison, I think the casters even mentioned it. We had the exact same situation was split. We lost to Wolves in week 9, the day 1, via silly mistake. It was the exact same thing this split. Luckily, this split, all the other matches and everything went into our direction, so all we had to do is beat Origin. And considering we've done it before, and considering we've been playing actually good versus the top teams, but we've been underperforming versus the lower teams, I think we all believe that we can do it, and I think the guys went out there and shown how they can play, how good they can be.
Well, they're going to have another opportunity very soon in the playoffs against Unicorns of Love. Hard to predict team, perhaps. Unicorns, they're known for their off-meta picks and for their chaotic play, even making Fnatic play chaotic in the last finals. Not so much this past week, but still, pretty good team. Jacob, how do you prepare your team for a group like Unicorns who you know are going to have some picks that are difficult to predict or off the meta?
Well, I think as long as we keep track of how the game is, I don't think we're going to be that surprised. I feel like we have players that are very quick on their feet when it comes to thinking. They have a lot of experience on their shoulders, like Vander, Nuktak, Jankos. They played this game for so long. I don't think anything can surprise us at this point. And sure, of course, I feel like we are a team that are very good at adapting, because usually the trend for us has been in this split is that the first game of the week we do poorly, and then the second game of the week we do very well. It's simply after the game we review it, everyone understands, and then we apply it to the next game, and it just looks a lot better because the missing components are there. So I feel like in a best of 5 scenario, we will be very good at adapting simply because of all the experience we have on our shoulders.
Now, of course, if you beat Unicorns, and I don't want to go too far ahead there because Unicorns is a tough series for you, but if you beat Unicorns, you do have to play this one team, Fnatic, I believe they're called. 18-0, I think they went, this record, something like that. They didn't lose a game this whole split. They just went 5 games with SKT before that. Do you have, like, how do you approach for your players, Jacob? How do you get them to get ready for a game like that, a series like that, beating a team 3 times that hasn't lost once this split?
Like, the thing is, I've taken a look at every single Fnatic game, and some of the games, there's obvious flaws. I think Fnatic is really great. There's nothing that you can say that can contest that, but the fact that they're not perfect. I don't think any team in League of Legends is perfect, and I think it will come down to preparation and adaptation. But once again, I don't really talk to the players about the Fnatic game that much because, as I said earlier, we take everything step by step, and I don't want to think too far ahead because thinking about the future and like thinking winning worlds, buying a Lamborghini, it just puts random thoughts in your mind that are not supposed to be there. You're supposed to focus on the present, right?
Right. Well, if you do beat Fnatic, I think a Lamborghini is a pretty good prize, actually. That might be deserve it at that point. We have a few questions. First of all, thanks for your time, both of you. We have a few questions from the chat before we let you go. For Jacob, someone's asking when you're going to have a video of you running through Berlin in your underwear, as promised.
Well, I can explain the backstory of it.
Sure, please. You should, actually.
I've been waiting for that video for a while. I'm gonna actually shoot it, most probably.
Well, pretty much what I did as a stunt, just to get some kind of publicity because I was bored. I kind of said that Team Impulse would win the Spring Split playoffs, which was like, I didn't even believe it. I just said it casually because I just wanted some exposure. I was bored and I wanted attention, you know, all that yada yada. Right. And then it kind of exploded. And at this point, like, I'm going to do it. I just need to work out a bit, you know, I need to get fit again. Haven't had time to do that yet. So it will come. It will come. I promised it will come. It will come soon. I'm not leaving Berlin yet, so.
All right, I'm looking forward to this. We also want to know, Jacob, if you still have your Dragonborn hat anywhere.
I need to think. I think I actually gave it away.
You gave it away. Here on the loadout, you found out. He gave away the Dragonborn hat. We're sorry to tell you all that.
So you guys, as LoL Esports loves to do, updated your rosters before you guys even had a chance to say anything. There's now a Korean top laner sitting on there that is a substitute. And nobody really knows who he is. So either one of you care to explain who Dart is? So.
Yamato, can I go with it?
Sure.
So pretty much between the splits, when we were looking at our options and everything, Dart popped up as a suggestion from some Korean friends of ours. We looked at him and everything. We were discussing if it should be Dart or it should be Steve at those times. Dart's visa couldn't be done in time and everything, so we dropped him as an option back then. But with Worlds coming and everything else, we needed really stable players that can play a couple of different positions. And considering Dart is top 10, believe I right now, but he was top 6 a couple of days ago. He's a player that can play a couple of positions with a lot of champions and everything, so it's perfect for a substitute player right now, at least. Regarding the rumors that we're replacing Steve with Dart and everything else, no, that's not happening. Not in the near future, at least. Like, right now we're focused only on playing Unicorns, Fnatic, and the Gauntlet for Worlds. We play all that between splits. There's a lot of time. There might be decision making, but I don't see it happening, at least right now, at this point.
You mentioned the offseason coming up. Are you happy with the team right now? You think it's a pretty good composition? You have a pretty good roster?
I think we've shown that, considering how much changes we had in a short time, and Yamato only working 2 or 3 months now, I think, with the roster, is the boys have shown that the more time they take to work together, the better they get. So I think right now our roster is quite solid. There's still some to be wished from them, but I think the guys can do it. I think what we have right now is good. And for me, the important thing is the atmosphere between the players is really good, and there's no crybabies, there's no butthurt people, and the work environment in between people, it's really good and easy to work with. So I'm happy with them.
I would like to add before we continue, like as I said earlier, the pickup of Steve would be some kind of a gamble and something that will have to grow throughout the season. And let's call him the final product now in the final week. And if anyone just looked at his performance against Origin in the final, or let's say let's just call it the final game. The final game, his performance was like top level. It was
good.
It was perfect. It was Core 1 Maokai level. That's how good it was, you know? And I'm glad to say that the gamble paid off. I'm very, very happy with Steve.
Now I have to ask, since you're in the playoffs, are you thinking about the possibility of making Worlds, or are you just going to let that come if it comes? If you do well enough, you're going to get there, but are you thinking about it? Is in the back of your mind, Worlds possibly coming up?
I think I try to keep my players on that track where they think about the present, but I'm pretty sure that everyone has in the back of their mind to play on the O2 Stadium here in Berlin. And of course, you think about it. You cannot not think about it. It's just too big to not think about.
Right. It's good motivation. Good motivation. Well, again, thanks for your time, both of you. We have one more question from the chat. The most important, really the hardest question so far, so brace yourselves. Perhaps take a grip in your chairs. Tommy, you first. Your favorite food?
My favorite food?
Yeah.
I would go with sushi right now.
Good choice. Jacob?
There's so much delicious food.
I know, it's a hard... I told you, this is the toughest question so far. I warned you. I did.
Meditat, bro. Meditat.
I'll just take a durum. I can take a durum any day. A kebab durum. It's good.
That does sound good. A good choice. Once again, thanks to Tommy and Jacob, Yamato and Fly of RoCat for joining us before the playoffs. Be sure to catch them against Unicorns of Live coming up soon. We wish them the best of luck. And, of course, the best of luck against Fnatic if that happens. You know, I think RoCat could go all the way, personally. That's my opinion. I'm sure you all share that as well. Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to follow the channel. If you missed part of the interview, check the VOD on YouTube at daily.esports. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook as well at .esports. Once again, thanks. We'll see you tomorrow with Richard Lewis. Bye.